So here we are, and here comes X. Alrighty then. So I'm on X here, and we're just gonna scroll around and see what kind of fun is going on. Primarily, I have a bunch of these political people. It's gonna be on the right side, not the left. Of course, on the left, you're gonna see people, promoting their side. So this is the side on the right promoting their side. Actually, the vast majority of the state's population in 2014, 15, and 16 were independent. They weren't impressed with the Democrats or the Republicans, so they were kind of independent, voting based on the person. And we still had a process where we had multiple people pushing, to be the candidate for their party, be it one Democrat. Yeah, as since then we've become very polarized, primarily due to social media and uh, censorship. The federal using their authority, misusing their authority to influence, to intimidate, to bully social media. The primary example would be Facebook, right? And that's the reason why Elon Musk bought at an extremely overpriced amount X. He was frustrated and angry, like most of us, that it was being used as a bully pulpit, so to speak, where people could not say what they wanted to say without being censored. So anyway, first one here is actually from Elon. As you can see, we have the founding fathers of the United States Constitution, and they just added in the verbiage. They didn't actually say this, in case you thought they actually did. No, they didn't use that kind of language back in 1776 or 1781, whenever this was actually. So, wait, so people can say whatever they want. Actually, that's not true. People cannot say whatever they want. As a local high school student just found out, they said something crazy on their social media, saying that they want to cause harm to their high school, and they were arrested. Yep. So you can be arrested for saying words on social media. It can happen. If you are physically threatening other people, you betcha. So be careful. Don't be stupid. Just because you're by yourself on a computer screen doesn't mean people can't come over with a warrant to arrest you. Just think before you act. And parents especially, give the talk to your kids, especially high school kids. Let them know that they are not immune from paying for the crazy stuff they say on the internet. If they say anything that promotes violence, they could very well get arrested, even if they're minors. If they are threatening imminent harm to themselves, to the people inside of their homes, to schools, to neighbors, etc. If that kid is a potential danger, a credible danger to the people around them, then I think about it. The law enforcement is here for a reason. It's to protect protect our society. So if you're a student, or if you're at work right now, or if you're at home trying to find a job, or it's, I don't know what date it's going to be when you actually see this. It could be, 2028, 2026, 2030, who knows? But regardless of your situation, you want to be safe, right? And so you would like for law enforcement to prevent people that live near you from potentially harming you. I mean, just imagine, somebody decides to walk out their door with a weapon and they just start shooting randomly. There's no one to stop that, of course, if nobody knows about it. But if people know about it, especially if law enforcement knows about it, or if a certain tweet or comment is flagged as potentially dangerous, then yeah, law enforcement is going to find out and they're going to do something to stop that. Because I mean, there are good aspects of law enforcement, and one of those is protecting our lives. So don't be all down on law enforcement because you got a speeding ticket. The whole idea is that your speeding can cause danger to yourself and can kill other people. If you're just, if you want to have fun, race on a video game. Don't endanger other people. That's the idea. So, and then you have on the picture over here, you have use my little pointer. Supposedly that's George Washington. Maybe that's Thomas Jefferson or somebody. And George is saying, yeah, people can say whatever they want. And that's not true. He's going to say, no, there needs to be some exceptions. But the people are going to say, no, you can't make exceptions. If you're the federal government and you want exceptions, well, you can make those exceptions after an incident happens. But at this point in time, if you want this thing to be ratified and signed, you have to say freedom of speech, period. We'll deal with any other issues later. We should be allowed to say what we want to say without the government controlling our free speech. Okay. And then later, we do have some limits on that. And then over here it says, let's give them guns. Well, they already had guns, weapons, for self-defense and to fight off the British at the time. And so they already had weapons. This was just saying defend their right to hold and keep their weapons and to defend themselves. Not only from the British government, but from the federal government. If the federal government decides they want to dominate people like the government was doing at the time. And yeah, they could do it again. So no, we shouldn't be buddies and friends as if nothing ever happened with the British, because it could very well happen again. And as you can see with the situation in Europe right now, yeah, that kind of crap is starting to happen in the U.S. That's a problem. That's why we need to defend our freedom of speech rights and our freedom to hold and bear arms, to defend ourselves. So there's that. So we are very grateful to those people in hindsight, knowing that we would need this in the future. And the punchline, this country is going to be lit. Yeah, it is. Thanks to them. All right, next we have white people will literally choose a dog over a refugee in a heartbeat. So we have language here. Saying white people is racist, okay? That's like saying black people, saying Asian people. These are slurs. It's grouping people based on physical appearance without knowing any of who they actually are, their actual history. So a person could be, they could have parents, one white, one black, and people will decide whether they're white or black, and we'll just pigeonhole them into a group inaccurately. And so when people say white people, well, that white person could be from Russia, could be from Europe, they could be American, they could be from Mexico, they could be from anywhere in the world. And just because of their physical skin color, they are racially profiled and told that they will have a certain behavior. And this behavior, choosing a dog over a refugee in a heartbeat. So that's discrimination, racism, stereotyping. It's everything that's wrong. Okay, it's all the wrong stuff. All that is not true. White people aren't white people. They are variations in shade of skin color, which is irrelevant. Some people will choose a dog over a refugee. Okay, that's true. Also remember that refugees aren't all refugees. Some of these so-called refugees are actual criminals from other countries, have broken in to the U.S., climbed a fence, swam a river, knowingly crossed into the border of the United States of America, knowing it's illegal, not caring about our laws, doing it anyway. These are not refugees. These people don't care about the laws. They don't care about going through the process legally. They don't respect the United States of America, nor do they respect the American people. They just do what they want to do. And these people, I do not consider them to be refugees. They are criminals breaking into America. So, okay, so there's a refugee word, and in a heartbeat, well, a heartbeat is like within 1 second. So there would probably take more time than that to decide. And also, when it comes to a dog, not every dog is chosen. There are some really dangerous, aggressive dogs out there where nobody wants them because they're vicious. These animals are untrainable and are uncivilized, and they should stay in a cage because they will bite at anything and everything that comes close to them. These could be rabid. So if they can't be trained to be civilized, domesticated animals, they might have to be put down, right? That's the way it usually happens. All right, what else do we have here? And that's called analyzing, a statement. Instead of just reading it and reacting to it, we need to think about what words are being used. So that's a space video, which is cool. Vivek Ramaswamy, he says, fire 75% of federal bureaucrats, shut down redundant agencies, rescind every federal regulation the Congress ever authorized. That's how you save a nation. Yeah, that's extreme. That's what politicians say to get hired or voted in, using extreme language, which will never happen. He knows it, and we know it. At least we should know it. Younger people or radicalized people might just go with the flow and assume that whatever he says is true. It's not. We need to think about things instead of just going with whatever people say. All right, what else do we have? North Carolina sheriff calls on citizens to join neighboring counties in a militia. Now, local militias are actually in the U.S. Constitution, but they need to be well regulated as it states in the U.S. Constitution. And so it's perfectly legal to have a local militia. So there should be nothing concerning about that. The reason why we need local militias is because often we have federal and state governments that become hostile against their own American people or people within their own state. And so people have the right to defend themselves, and that's what militias are for. It's just groups of neighbors that get together and agree to defend each other. Okay, they're not going to commit any crimes. They're not going to start a war. They're not going to start even a rebellion, but they are going to defend themselves in a unified way. And there should be no question about that or problem with that. People should be encouraged to have, their own neighborhood. It's like a neighborhood watch. People working together, watching for criminals that happen to be wandering through their neighborhood. In the same way, you could have neighbors that group together. They assess their firearms, and if they are attacked by anyone that's trying to harm them or their property, they should have a plan to unify and have each other's backs. We should be defending our neighbors, and our neighbors should be defending us, and we should have a plan in place to defend each other if that need arises. And so there's nothing wrong with defending yourself. All right, what's next? More than 40 years later, and I still don't know the name of this candy. Okay. So you could go to Google Photos, and you could do a screenshot of this and put it in there, and it'll tell you exactly what it is. Honestly, I don't care what it is, and I don't care to take the 10 seconds it takes for me to do it. If you're curious, that's how you can do that. If you see a candy that you don't know what the name of it is and you don't care, well, move along, right? Tim Pool, he's kind of he says he's independent, but he's more on the right. He's not an official Republican, but he does say some things that can be triggering. So he's good entertainment to watch, and he talks really fast. So if you've never seen him, check out his it's Timcast IRL. He has his own YouTube channel, and where else is he at? He's on another channel as well. I think maybe Dutch. Yeah, he's obviously has a Twitter channel, but it's there's another channel as well. Anyway, that gaming channel or gaming app. To an extent, though, it's kind of funny. This dude is eating a bird. This dude eating a bird is more normal to us. More normal than us going to grocery stores for plastic packed hormone growth, overweight, disease meat. Okay. So yeah, that's a Canada goose. Those are actually legally protected. This person from Haiti, no U.S. laws, so he just decided to kill a Canadian goose, which is against the law, as I said, and he's planning on going home and feathering it, cooking it, and eating it, which could be more healthy than buying chicken so that's the point he's making here. The problem is that it's illegal to kill Canadian geese. So anyway, well, that's a bit graphic. You know that you can see this at any swimming pool and on any beach, right? West Coast, East Coast, wherever you go. But but also looks like underwear or negligee, something you'd see in a bedroom, right? But let's just try to focus on the comment where it says, with government in control of monetary policy, the chief threat in the field has become inflation. So the problem is where actually the White House, just one branch of government without asking anyone, is somehow allowed to print money. So I have a lot of questions about that, how that can happen. And then that money is funneled to certain corporations. Something desperately with this whole situation when it comes to printing money. Big Lots is filed for bankruptcy. Really? Trying to close down their 1,400 stores across the U.S. Wow. Have you ever been to Big Lots? That's a big deal. Wow. Big Lots closing down. Shut up. I wonder why. Huh. They won't be the last, somebody says. Time for some closeout sales. So I'm just going to take advantage of that. This guy says, maybe because all the illegal aliens are shopping at Neiman Marcus. Too many stores for bankruptcy, not good. Agreed. But that's been happening for a while. And yeah, it's because a lot of these stores have a very thin profit margin, and this stuff would have happened with or without incoming people from the southern border, in my opinion. But what they're trying to do on the left and the right is anything that goes wrong, they want to blame on the other side. So that's how that's working. Here we have Pelosi casting doubt, of course, on the other side. Birthday wishes. Big dog. A little scary, right? Doesn't look like you're a cuddly lap dog. It's like you're a guard dog. He's one of those spiked collars. Facial recognition tech is answer to far-right riots. Interesting. Pardon me, but people on both sides cause riots. There's also peaceful protests, or nobody causes any violence. Facial recognition is a way for government to track people illegally with warrants. It used to be where they had to have a warrant to be able to follow anyone. And they used to have these things called bugs, which is a small electronic device, similar to GPS now. And long before we had video cameras or facial recognition technology. Um, but because of laws that were passed shortly after 9/11, 2001, we have more of a surveillance state now, as noted by Edward Snowden. It's not a joke, it's real. It's metadata. Basically, they collect camera video feeds everywhere in the world, and then they use software. Whenever they need to find someone, they simply will load up the person's face, their mugshot or their face, whatever picture they can find, and they'll ask their system, be it NSA or FBI or whomever, they'll say, find this person within the last 24 hours, for example. And they will comb through all those cameras and they will find hits, or they will find, where it's a match. And then the computer will load up the matches that they found. And then the person actually doing the search will look for the date to see the most recent date to see where that person was. And then they'll do a eyes-on comparison to confirm or deny that that's the same person. And then if they have identified where that person is, then they can, if there's a warrant or something for that person, they can contact the law enforcement in that area, anywhere in the world, and say, hey, we need to find this person. And so that local law enforcement will look in that area where they were last seen, and they will check other cameras to see if there's anything more recent to get a pattern as far as where they're going. They might be, in a mall. They might be on a bus. They might have been seen just walking down a sidewalk. So that's how this surveillance stuff works. Without any kind of warrant whatsoever, they can use the video cameras, the public video cameras and private, if linked up to government technology, they can find out where people are. So they used to be a thing, and now it is. Political stuff. Are you tired of political stuff yet? Because it gets old after a while. I mean, doing this for an hour or so, yeah, it can get exhausting. People get emotionally exhausted. Let's see. Healthcare. America would pay for the healthcare of Earth. Yeah, that's not happening. Yeah, no. So two things about this. First, government providing health coverage for undocumented immigrants. So basically, everyone in the United States can go to the southern border, walk out, stand there for a minute, walk back in to be an undocumented immigrant, and suddenly they have full health coverage. Really? And then you have federal taxes paying for that, right? Or not. Who's paying for all that? And here we have millions of actual Americans that have been here their whole lives, not covered, unable to get health insurance because it costs so much. And even if they do have insurance, when they actually want to go in for any kind of actual issues, they still have to pay money. And when it comes to operations, even simple operations, you might have health coverage, but your health coverage doesn't cover that particular operation. And so now, you're stuck paying the bill. Even though you have health insurance, you also have to pay for the whole tab of that operation. It could be $7, $17, $27, $107,000. And even though you have health insurance, you still have to pay for it. So there's a lot of games going on when it comes to health insurance in America right now, as you know. All right, what else do we have? What do you think about that health ticket? And of course, they pick the picture. So she's smiling and laughing, and he looks a little hysterical there. And so depending on where you are on the political spectrum, you either like the picture or you don't. And they're asking for opinions a lot. Notice how they try to rope people into making comments. And it looks like 3.6 thousand people have made comments. So it works. Um, so yeah, we have people getting arrested. Uh, so we have a lot of issues going here in the U.S. Who's this guy? Colorado State Trooper Corporal ambushed while sitting in his patrol car. The man drove by and unloaded his. Oh, yikes! Wow. Okay, so this trooper lived Colorado. He lived, grabbed his weapon, his shotgun, his rifle, grabbed his rifle, and killed the gunman. So, good for him. The law enforcement is being attacked. That's crazy. All right. Elon says, I keep forgetting that Biden is still technically in charge of the country. Yeah. President Joe Biden is still the president of the United States of America. Yep, he is. In other words, Joe Biden could legally call up the U.S. military to defend our southern border. He could do that. He is the commander in chief of the U.S. military. He could call up the U.S. Army and the U.S. Marines and the U.S. Air Force and get them all to coordinate. He could pick, one or two generals to be in charge, and they could coordinate together, or maybe a general from each of the three forces, get them to work together to defend that border militarily. He could also do an emergency declaration and say that they need to be working on that wall right now. And signs need to go up stating that anyone caught crossing this border will be shot on sight. They can do that too. There need to be signs up first, and the word needs to go out first before they start doing that, because there's a lot of people that are on their way here that have no idea that that's coming. So to start out with, they should just be simply turned away at gunpoint with no one physically harmed. But once people know and they see military forces and they come forward anyway, then those military United States just need to have the legal right to engage illegally aggressive people coming in, especially if they have weapons and they're shooting at the U.S. military. The U.S. military has the legal right to shoot them back. That's what I think should happen. And George, not George Bush. It's a decade later, 2 decades later. It is Joe Biden. President Joe Biden could do all that right now. And he chooses not to. He chooses to sit on the beach, sipping his drink, doing absolutely nothing to defend the United States of America, when he could, in fact, be taking charge and using the military to defend the United States. So, yeah, that's why we forget he's a president, because he's doing absolutely nothing. And a large part of that is because he was too old. He was actually selected by the DNC to be president. I know there was an election, but notice that even the Democrats didn't have the opportunity to choose who they wanted. They wanted to choose someone else, but they didn't have that. The DNC chose Joe Biden and said, hey, if you're a Democrat, this is the person you have to pick. And that's not a free election. That's not a free election process. There was no mirror. They were not allowed to pick who they wanted. And I remember back, I believe it was 2019, when they were going through the whole process, we had 3 or 4 or 5 different people that were all, campaigning. And then suddenly, towards the very end, someone who was not even in the running, Joe Biden, was suddenly picked. Like, suddenly he was running, and a week later they picked him to be the DNC pick, despite all these other people. And they didn't let it, they didn't let it be an election process. In other words, it wasn't the person that got highest votes got in. It was more the DNC saying, this is the person we're picking, and that's it. And so it became more of a dictatorship party than a democratic party. So, all right. What's your opinion on artificial intelligence? It's bad. It's my opinion. Should be illegal. The U.S. should easily make it illegal in the United States. They could actually continue working on the technology, and they'd work on all. I mean, in the U.S. military, NSA and all the different three-letter organizations within the executive branch, they're working on stuff that we don't know about. They could easily keep on doing that with AI. All they'd have to do is not release it into the wild, into the internet domain. They just keep it, secret, under wraps, and off of the internet. But they chose not to do that. They want AI on the internet for some reason. And it's up to us to what is really going on, because they're not telling us. Let's see. Teachers, I've said it for years, and it's finally gaining traction. Cell phones don't belong in classrooms. Okay, that's good. Yeah, smartphones should not be out in a school classroom. And actually, in Florida, a bill was just passed and turned into law banning public school students from having their cell phones in their hand in a classroom. They can keep it in their book bag, but they cannot have it in hand. It's actually a law. They had to do that. Whether it's enforced or not, that's a good question. I'm sure there's incidents going on where students defy that. But it's becoming a huge issue in all schools. Public schools and public schools. Private schools, they pretty much have it figured out where all of the smartphones go onto a cart when they come into the classroom, and then after they're leaving, they can grab their phone on the way out. Pretty simple solution to that problem. What is that? I have some questions. Yeah, what the heck? Was your life better under President Trump? I would say yes. Some people will say no. It depends on your particular situation, right? So we do have a debate coming up tomorrow evening, Tuesday evening. Today is Monday. Tomorrow's Tuesday. So I don't know what's going to happen, but it's going to be interesting. We have a person who has never been in a presidential debate. That would be Kamala. And we have Donald Trump, who's been in many. many. Also, we have the gender difference. She's a female. She identifies as a female. He's a male. He identifies as a male. So there won't be that discussion, hopefully. But it will be definitely two extreme viewpoints. And there'll be much disrespect you can plan on. And so it'll be interesting to see the mudslinging. So good for entertainment, right? We'll learn something in. It'll be great entertainment. So make sure you have plenty of popcorn and drinks. And if you have friends, watch it together. You can all go crazy together, right? And there'll be live streaming of the actual debate. Be assured of that. People flipping out during the All right, what else do we have here? Ted Nugent. He's an old rock and roll guy from the 1970s. I believe he lives out in Colorado, and I hear he's a pothead, which many are. Totally legal in Colorado and a lot of other states now. But he's very conservative, and he's pro-Trump. And so here he's just mentioning that comparing here other species to the human species, and just illustrating that there's something wrong here when it comes to laws that protect sea turtles versus protecting babies. So here we have If you kill a preborn sea turtle, meaning a sea turtle egg, you get a $100,000 fine or a year in prison. You could easily do that for doing that for a preborn person. And then we have the other one, which is a preborn eagle. That would be an egg, as you can see here. See that? Those are eagle eggs. You climb up into a nest and take one of these eggs and kill it, $250,000 fine or 2 years in just for eating an egg, a turtle egg or a bald eagle egg. Obviously, chicken eggs, you can eat those all day long. So certain eggs are protected and some aren't. No penalty. Now, this is not true for all preborn. Like if you're 9 months ready to be delivered, you can't kill babies that are close to being born. But up to 6 weeks, for a lot of states, up to 6 weeks, it's perfectly legal to abort a pregnancy, which means killing a human being, preborn, no penalty. But if you do that with eggs, certain eggs, and so that becomes a question of morality. Why do people want to have the right to abort their baby? They call it a fetus because they don't want to call it a baby. They don't want to call it a baby because they feel guilty when they say the word baby. So this is all a word game, and it's so that they don't feel about doing something they know is wrong. Killing your own child, people know this is wrong, but they want to have the right to do it anyway. Why? It's not everyone. It's just a few people that want to have right. Why would somebody want to have the right to kill their own child? In most cases, it's people that are having sex with people and it's not protected and they don't want to use protection, or they want to have a fallback just in case the protection doesn't work, and they want to be allowed to abort their child if they want to. They're calling it a right. They have the right. My body, my choice, right? A fetus is not your body. It's a different human being. Your physical body is naturally trying to help that baby to live. And so unless there's some kind of a life health risk kind of situation where the mother is on, has a high probability of dying, like, the risk is over 50% that the mother could die. And in that case, the mother should be saved. And a baby can be aborted naturally. Like nature decides in some cases that a baby is not feasible, or if it's stillborn, for example. Well, there's no discussion about that, right? So the problem lies where we have women that are choosing a risky lifestyle. Number one, they're just screwing around indiscriminately, and they are intentionally living a dangerous lifestyle. And then so they think they don't have an obligation to be responsible. And they think that there should be no laws holding them responsible for that when they get pregnant. But that should not be the case. They should be fined. If a person is a streetwalker and they are hooking to make money and they get pregnant, they should be fined. Not $100,000, not $150,000, but I would go with $2,000. They should be fined $2,000 if they abort their baby for the first time. If they do the same thing again, that amount should go up to $10,000 and a couple months in prison. And if they do it a third time, demonstrating that they do not care what the government says, showing that they're defiant and that they want to do, then they should go up to the turtle fine amount of $100,000 or a year in prison. So it should escalate. So if they continue to have a dangerous lifestyle, we'll put it that way, and abort their child, refusing to use any kind of contraceptive, then yeah, they should be fined $100,000 for the third time, $100,000 or a year in prison. I think that would be a fair, tiered way for states to handle that situation. And it's not a lot of people doing that. Most people are responsible. They are protected if they are sexually active, and that situation never happens. And of course, people know about marriage and starting families, and so people should get married before they start having kids. That's the right way to do it. A lot of people take risks and do things unsafely. And so suppose you're a good person and you're dating and you sleep with somebody, and what should you do? Well, you should keep that baby. You should ask that man to get engaged to you, to be married, because you guys both chose. That was consensual sex, and you should get married. That's the right thing to do. If he refuses, then the woman should have the baby and should do a DNA test. They should actually take it to court, where the court, and she needs to know his full name, his first and last name, and a picture. And if they were dating, she should have pictures of him so she can identify him. And then a court could compel him to give a DNA sample, like a blood sample, and compare the child's blood to him, and a simple DNA test like you used to see on Jerry Springer, so they can verify that he's the father. Once they verify he's the father, well, now he has to pay child support. So that's holding the mother responsible for his behavior as well. So the woman to be responsible for her behavior, in that she has to protect that baby. I mean, if she chose to have unprotected sex, she chose to knowing that she could get pregnant. Now that she is pregnant, she should not have the right to kill her own baby. She should have to have that baby and care for it for the next 20 years. However, the father should also be held responsible for that baby. And that would push people, younger people in particular, to think twice before they have unprotected sex. They should plan to get married before they have sex. That's the right way to do it. Pretty simple. And either can get fixed. They have medical procedures. Or a man or a woman can have their tubes tied. A man could have a vasectomy. And if they don't want to have kids and they still want to screw around, well, now there's no child endangerment. You're not going to be, having any abortions, which is better than having abortions. It's not the ideal, but if they refuse to get married and they insist on endangering their own lives by having unsafe sex, or just have unmarried sex with multiple people, then that's on them. At least it's just them that's being endangered. It's not, they're not endangering a child's life. So obviously I have an opinion on this. I don't do drugs. I don't do alcohol. I am conservative. I'm a preacher's kid, actually. I have lots of questions about a lot of things. And it's funny how when you ask questions, people quickly get angry or frustrated because they don't have answers. So it's good to have questions about things because it actually clarifies the reality of what people really believe. They might say they believe something, but as soon as you start questioning it, well, you're not allowed to ask questions. All right, so the last thing here, I see the live time. I've been here about 45 minutes, but that's long enough. Bill Gates here. Yeah, we're not friends. I've never met Bill Gates, but we have been going through life here in the U.S. together for the last almost 60 years. He's older than me, so he's probably in his mid. I'm saying he's probably 70 or so. Not exactly sure, but I remember him going all the way back to 1982. Microsoft, Bill Gates, and so he's been with Microsoft. That's his company. He created Microsoft all the way back then when he was young. But he did it by taking free to the public software, changing it a little bit, copywriting it, and then selling licenses of the software to IBM. I believe that's the way he started his whole business. And then they created a operating system and started selling that through IBM onto personal computers. That was when personal computers just started. And that's how he targeted and became rich by the business world, because at that point in time, there was a transition where we went from typewriters and ashtrays and people smoking at their offices to no more smoking in the offices, personal computers becoming a thing. They started with terminals, and then they actually had PCs. And Microsoft Office. Well, actually, this is for Office. It was Windows. I believe they started with Windows 3.1. I think that was the first, but it kept on crashing. Then 3.5, Microsoft 5, Microsoft, lots of different versions. Can't remember them all. 7 was good. Microsoft Windows 7 was pretty good, very stable. That was the first really good stable version. Before that, we had Windows NT, and that was a good solid version as well. And then I believe they built Windows 7 NT, and that's the newest. Anyways, that's the story with Bill Gates. And here we have a quote. I'm not sure if it's true or not, but it says the U.S. is tough. One, because we have the First Amendment. What are the exceptions? Over time, you're going to want to have an environment where people are truly identified. Uh-oh, there goes that surveillance state, right? And of course, Microsoft Windows is used for surveillance. Yes. We're going to have systems and behaviors of who says what. Meaning, actually we already have this, but he's making it public, where we have this. This is actually a stream going to YouTube, which is owned by Google, and all of that data most probably is being stored in giant server farms, they call it, and then copied over to government server farms, unbeknownst to us, so they can use that as a giant database, so that if I or any of you has any crimes, well, they can then use that database to go through and look for anything that our face was on, that our identity was used, so they can have a whole pool of data to go through to basically see who we are and what kind of stuff we've been doing or saying on the internet. Now, Bill here says that that's not currently true. However, I think it's already true. It might not be, but I'm thinking it's already true. I'm more leaning on the side of everything you do or say on the internet is recorded and stored and copied and will stay there forever. So anyway, so that's Bill Gates. He seems to be promoting that. I'm on the mixed side of, well, that could be helpful for law enforcement. It can also be abused by law enforcement, where law enforcement could become fascist, and they could use it not for law enforcement, but rather to censor people, to group people into our side versus their side, right? So if you have a new totalitarian dictatorship, fascist government, they can easily pull all of their political enemies together and they can go after them. They can shut down their ability to have anything on the internet. They can do a lot of things. So there's that. So, and then the last thing here, do you own your home or are you renting? Don't answer questions, especially self-identifying questions. These are random people. You don't know who they are. You don't need to answer their questions. And since it's right here, does that look like people? It sort of does, doesn't it? It looks like a face, possibly looking, to the right or to the left, but it's not. What is it really? It's just, like if you have it's like, what do they call those? Guardrails, handles, the side, if you any kind of a border, if you're going down the stairs, or if you're, it might be around a garden or something. Typically something like that would be inside of a house. But what it is just those little things that you can hold. It's like a candle holder. One's upside down, one's upside up, but they're arranged in a way where it looks like a person. That would be an unnatural way. That's why it looks like a person. But it is sort of an optical illusion because it looks like, right? So, okay. Later, might not. Who knows? But nobody came on my live chat. As far as I know, nobody's currently watching this. And so at least I know how to do this, and it's getting easier for me to actually do it. And so me having experience is helping. So I'm going to go off of this sharing thing. I don't know what else I can do with this other than sharing streams. Also share tab audio. And that's automatically set to a yes. Okay. So anyway, I'm out of here. Hope you guys have a good day.